Hi, Sandy. Lovely to see you today. Thanks ever so much for joining me for this conversation. Um, we're really keen to understand the US experience and the process and some of your decision making. So I'm going to pass over to you to give a brief introduction, and then we've got some questions that we'll run through within the discussion. So over to you. Thanks.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yes, my name is Sandy Scott. I went to Texas Tech University in the US to do a golf scholarship. I was there for 6 years. Had a great time, and I just graduated there last semester. So
Thanks, Sandy. Going back in time a little bit, just keen to explore where you were at in that kind of looking beyond high school and what would be important for you in terms of that decision making.
yeah, the last couple of years of high school, I was pretty certain I wanted to go to the US to do a golf scholarship. Um, I felt that that would prepare me the best for professional golf, which was the ultimate goal for me. Um, the facilities, the weather, um, the ability to compete against some of the best players of your age group. I feel like we're all great pull factors for me. And going there, and to have the opportunity to have your education to fall back on, if golf wasn't to work out, um, was just it was a great sounding experience for me. So
Yeah, brilliant. And based on those decisions, you were at a time that you kind of really knew what you wanted to do. Did you know anybody over there? Were you in touch with the coaches? Were you aware of what that environment looked like directly? And did you do a recce before you decided that was where you wanted to go?
I knew of quite a few guys that had gone before, and it, whenever I was looking at going, it was kind of the popular thing to do as a golfer.
Mhm.
Um, Quite a lot of people were taking up on the opportunity because of how good it was. So I had some level of understanding of what it was like, what to expect, based on some of the guys' accounts that had gone before me, um, and they had done really well with it. So um, I had, yeah, a little bit of an understanding. And what was that, a recce you said?
Did you go see the university or did you go to other universities before you decided that was definitely for you?
Yes, I did. So I was in contact with maybe, yeah, 5 or 6 universities, university coaches that um, I had the opportunity to maybe go and visit, and I ended up visiting just 3 or 4 of those that I narrowed down to. So, of the 3 or 4 that I visited, you got a flavor of the coaches, the culture, the the university, the education, the golf facilities, the program, all of that in the space of your 48-hour visit. And so based off of that, I made my decision to go to Texas Tech because it was just a great fit for me.
Mhm. Was there something about Texas Tech that really stood out that you just felt that that was definitely the one for you?
Yeah, it kind of had, it's technically a city where it is, but it's a very quiet city. It almost felt like a big town. And so, everything was kind of closely knit, and you could get anywhere pretty easily.
Mhm.
Um, you didn't have to, travel 30 minutes to get to a golf course like a lot of big city places do. You do. no traffic to deal with. So it was very, you know, kind of similar to the culture that I grew up in. So I think that was, you know, a big pull factor for me. But I mean, the weather was good, the facilities were fantastic, the coaches were brilliant, and I think that that's one of the main reasons I was pulled towards Texas Tech was the coaches and the golf program. So
Mhm.
um, I think just adding that all up, Texas Tech was a great spot for me.
Good. And was there a focus on academics as well, Sandy? What is it that you chose to do?
So I ended up studying kinesiology and business, which is the study of body movement, which is it's kind of sport focused.
Mhm.
Um, and so I did that for my first 4 years in an undergrad program, and then I did um, a, a graduate degree um, in the same disciplines. So I still studied kinesiology and business in my last 2 years there.
Mhm. Okay. And what did you find about that experience that was great and enjoyable?
It was really good. I think that in terms of golf, you have the opportunity to play against really good players,
Mhm.
not only in your team but at tournaments. So you know you're always getting pushed because you're surrounding yourself in that competitive environment that you have the ability to thrive under. Um, I remember when I first went out there, you just automatically begin to work that little bit harder. I was able to hit the ball a lot further just because I was competing and playing with guys that were trying to do the same thing as me and be as good as you can get.
Mhm.
And ultimately just play better because of that. Um, you create friends for life. I still stay in contact with the guys that well, yeah, my teammates, my coaches, friends in at Texas Tech. Um, so yeah, brilliant opportunity to meet new people. Um, and the amount of resources that you have at the university is tremendous. The facilities, the golf and strength coaches, psychologists, tutors, the the university was fantastic and really, approaching everything from all angles and really helping athletes out there.
Mhm.
Um, and most of all, I was able to grow as a person and a golfer the most I ever have during that time. So I learned to be more independent and prepared me essentially for pro golf and adult life. So um, I'd say that was all the great things about it. And I enjoyed a lot of those things. Competing, practicing with teammates and friends,
Mhm.
um, improving, and the freedom of just doing your own thing and getting better. And college life is a really fun time. So
Mhm. Sounds like a great experience. How many people were in your cohort, Sandy? Was there like a big group of you in the golf program, or was it quite small?
our golf program was typically smaller than the rest. We had about 10 players
Mhm.
on our team most years. Most programs will have about 12, 13 odd. Um, but the university itself was quite big. It was 40,000 students at our university.
Right. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah, very big.
The same for everything in Texas, I suppose. Everything's
Yes,
just bigger, bigger,
everything's
bigger.
big in Texas, that's for sure.
Um, Conversely to the question that I just asked, I'm sure as much as it sounds an absolutely amazing experience, you did have some curveballs along the way. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely challenging. You're going to face some challenges when you're out there. I remember in my first 2 years, I had difficulties with being away from home, not playing the golf that I thought I was capable of, not getting picked for the team for some events, not really enjoying school sometimes, and so these things add up, and
Hmm.
it's a challenge definitely. But I think that learning from those experiences, I'd say that you don't have to go in alone with
Hmm.
um, suffering in silence, or suffering by yourself. The resources that the university provide for you are really good, like um, and use your friends and family around you to help you get through times like that. I think that just being open with those people around you to help you, and um, you know it's important to talk about these things when they happen. So
Yeah.
um, I think that those things, um, everybody goes through, especially as an international athlete, where you're forced to be away from home. Um, but you know, um, just communication, I think, is key there.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Sandy. And I think, yeah, definitely through PL, that's a key message from ourselves is always to encourage people to speak up, no matter who it's to or when it is. It's to know that there is resource and support out there, regardless of what's going on. So thanks for sharing that. Um, Keen to understand a little bit about application process and what that was like for you. And yeah, if you could just briefly explain a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yeah. So I remember, once you have committed to a university, they'll help you get started. The way that Texas Tech did it was they set up an account to do all your prep work and fill out all your forms. So you have to fill out, um, um, you know, quite a few forms just to prepare you for going to Texas Tech. You make sure that you've got all your immunizations. You've got your transcripts, they call it, from high school, that you send to them. You'll fill out um, sort of your visa forms and stuff, and so you'll get all that sorted. And that'll probably be 6 months maybe in advance, so you've got plenty of time
Hmm.
um, to sort of get all that organized before you head over there. So um, I would say at about that 6 month mark before you go, you probably want to have a good idea of where you want to go, so that you have that time to prepare for that. So
Hmm. Okay. And did you also sit the SAT or the ACT?
I did do the SAT. Yes, I did do the SAT. I
Mm.
did that in the May time, um, the year before I was going over. So I did that a little bit early,
Mhm.
because I was sure that I was going to be going to, or I was sure that I wanted to go to college in the States. So that is a requirement, either the SAT or the ACT, um, and some schools will have differing um, sort of entry requirements for scores, but there's a place for everybody, really. So I wouldn't get too hung up on results there, but
Mhm.
um, especially if you're an athlete, that they try and accommodate you even that little bit extra,
Mhm.
um, to get you to play for their school. So um, I think that I didn't have a particularly amazing SAT score, because um, I was doing exams at the same time.
Mhm.
And in America, they study weekly for their SAT, so they're so far ahead of the curve in terms of that. So even more so, don't worry about it too much. But again, it's multiple choice, which helps. So, or most of it is. Yeah.
Alongside a bit of study and preparation in advance, Sandy.
Yes. Exactly.
Um, Sandy, can you say more to the arrival process of when you got there?
Yeah. So when you arrive, you'll get settled into your dormitory. Um, at my school, the first year you were required to stay on campus in a dorm. And the the golf team, they typically put all the first year students together on the golf team. So I roomed with two other first year students, and um, you either are in the same room as somebody, or if you're lucky like I was, you got your own room, which was good. Um, and so it was good to get to know those guys straight away, and build that friendship and relationship early. Um,
Mhm.
so you get settled in there. You'll have a medical kind of to do where you do height, weight, pressure. I think you may have to give a blood sample for a test here or there, and maybe a P test or something, which you're thrown in the deep end there. But
Mhm.
anyways, yeah, all part of the experience. Um, and then you'll have your school introductions. That'll be maybe one day before the week of school starts, where you'll pick your classes for the upcoming semester. You'll um, get to pick your schedule and get an idea of how school works, get set up with the online program for doing school,
Mhm.
um, and then you'll meet the golf team. You'll have an introductory meeting with the golf team, get to meet all the players, the coaches, get an idea of how practice will look, and what kind of schedule you'll have for the upcoming semester. So um, that first week or two is probably the busiest um, you'll ever be in college. But once you're set, you'll be off to the races. So
Good. Um, and what was it like traveling to different tournaments?
yeah, it was great. We typically had 4 tournaments in the fall semester, and then about 10 tournaments in the spring semester. That's golf's main season is in the spring, which is January through till May time. Um, so yeah, I mean, um, we would often be away for each tournament for about 4 days, so you would miss some school a lot of the time. Um, just making sure that you're communicating with your teachers before and after you go away, just to help, introduce yourself as an athlete who's going to be traveling, and make sure that you're going to catch up and reschedule any tests or homework that you need to. Um, But yeah, I guess that's another thing with just the communication. We would often have one practice round and then 3 tournament rounds. Um, Most of the time, you'll have one 36-hole day, which these days can be long.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a good thing. Scottish golfers typically have quite a few 36-hole days, so you should be pretty prepared for that. But um, yeah, rounds are typically about 5.5 hours long, which might be longer than you're used to. So, definitely being patient there is important.
Mhm. Patience is a virtue, as we all know,
Yes,
Sandy.
yeah.
And in terms of that kind of whole program piece, looking at that day-to-day progress process, what that looks like, what was kind of like your average week in terms of hours?
So for a typical in season, if we're at home, we would have classes in the morning. So you would average maybe 3 classes in the morning per day, from like 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock, um, Monday through Friday, and then you would have practice in the afternoon for 4 hours, so two till 6 o'clock. Um, that would be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then we typically played, or we qualified. So you would, be qualifying to make the team for the upcoming tournaments on Tuesday and Thursday. So we played 18 holes on Tuesday and Thursday. We often got the weekends off to do our own stuff. And we would have workouts on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at like 6:30 in the morning as well. So that's a typical week for in season, and that all team orientated practice accumulated to 20 hours a week.
Okay. It's good to hear that you've got downtime as well, because that's a pretty busy schedule. So it's good that you're able to engage with some of the activities either on campus or with your friends and stuff as well, Sandy. And hopefully you got to do other things than golf. So
Yes, no, definitely.
which is important. Do you have any general advice for anyone heading out there at all?
Yes. So when you're out there, you have some freedom with, picking what you want to study. I didn't know what I wanted to study when I first went out there. The good thing about the American system is they have general requirements that everybody has to do at your time at college. So you have to do the likes of 2 maths classes, 2 English classes, 2 history classes, 2 government classes, and there's maybe 1 art requirement, 1 music requirement. So they've got all these general areas that you have to fulfill throughout your whole time. So that's across your whole time. So if you don't have much of an idea of what you want to study, don't worry about it. You can just do a lot of these general requirements early on, to give yourself some more time. But I generally wouldn't leave it more than your first 2 semesters, just because some areas of study might require you to do a certain type of maths class or a certain type of English class or something. So, but yeah, don't worry about it too much. I didn't know what I wanted to do straight away, so you have that leeway there. I didn't have a car for my first year and a half, maybe 2 years, and so it was fine because I was traveling with my teammates who I was living with a lot of the time. But it definitely gave me a lot of freedom whenever I did get a car. So I think that would be something I would recommend doing, is just to have that freedom to practice when you want, go to meals when you want, go do extracurricular stuff whenever you want. I think that really helped me. And yeah, just back to the fact that it's a challenging time at sometimes, just knowing that you're not alone, you have those around you to help you. So don't be afraid to use them.
Good. And is there anything at all in hindsight that you wished you'd known before you got there?
Yeah, I think there is. When you're looking at colleges, I wouldn't focus too much on going to somewhere with perfect weather. I think that it's important to go to somewhere that you can play golf for most of the year. But I went to Texas Tech. That's a really windy place, and quite a lot of places in the US are really windy. There's not many places that you'll have perfect weather, maybe in California or Arizona or somewhere like that. But it helped me develop my game from playing in these different conditions. So
Hmm.
I would view that as a positive. Um, if you are going to be looking at a place that's maybe more northern, I'd maybe make sure that they had a half decent indoor facility so that you can still practice throughout that time. Um, one important area when I was out there was getting set up with the tax department.
Hmm.
Um, you're able to get like £500 back each year if you just file a few forms. So
Hmm.
um, that was a big help for me. Um, typically, the better the football and basketball programs at these schools means that the school will be getting more money in, and they'll have a good focus on athletics, and that'll trickle down to the golf program. So generally speaking, if the football and basketball teams are good, then the golf team will be pretty good.
Hmm.
So that's just general. So you can have a look at the athletic program
Hmm.
in general for a school and get a pretty good scope of how it is in general. Um, the big college golf conferences, um, or the big college conferences in the States, there's about five of them that have really big focuses on basketball and football. And
Hmm.
so a lot of these conferences have a lot of money because of that, and that trickles down to all other athletic department programs. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, I've got a few things actually. There's plenty of things I wish I knew. Um, let me see. So a typical scholarship offer will be based on doing 12 hours of classes a week. Um, so just that's something to keep an eye on because you have to average 15 hours a week to graduate.
Hmm.
So um, if an offer looks good at first glance, it may not be as good as you thought because you might have to pay for that extra class. So um, just keeping an eye on the small print in the contract and stuff. Um, and different schools will cost different amounts. I went to a pretty fairly priced school, and I was on about 65% scholarship. Um, and with that 12 hours of classes in mind, I had to pay basically just for that extra class,
Hmm.
which would be about $3,000 a semester.
Right.
So
Okay.
that was how it worked for me. Um, and I was able to get an increase on my scholarship as I went on. So
Hmm.
you have that wiggle room to do that. They can never decrease your scholarship. That's an agreement um, that's in the small print in the scholarship contract. So, but you can get it increased with um, maybe good play, being a good teammate, being a good um, student. You also have athletic scholarships available to you as well that you can apply for. So there's plenty of opportunity to raise funds for going out there if you're not on a full scholarship.
Hmm.
Um, and so after at Texas Tech after that first year, you were in dormitories. Um, you had to look for your own apartment, so you had to communicate with your friends or teammates where you wanted to live and stuff. So I would
Yeah.
maybe give yourself about that 5 6 month mark to start looking for something just to make sure that you have something ready um for when you come back the following semester.
Hmm.
Um and lastly, I think that when you're on your visit, if you are going to visit, or even if you're not, and you're communicating with the coaches, a lot of the time they'll be very nice, and it's very hard to gauge how they are as a golf coach and as a person, over time because they're going to want you to go to their college.
Hmm.
Um, so I would maybe do that little bit of extra research, maybe go to some ex players or current players and ask them how the program is, ask them how the coaches are, just to make sure that you get a good idea of how they are, because it is a commitment and you want to make sure you're doing the best research you can to make that commitment. So just doing that extra bit of groundwork can help you feel better about your commitment.
Thanks, Sandy. There's absolutely golden nuggets in that information there, and you can always learn something from other people's experiences, which is great. And typically, for someone coming from Scotland, I like how you started with the weather front.
Of course, of course it
Always
is. Yeah.
important to get the environment right. And you know, people don't always think about that, but it is a serious point. And sometimes that environment can make or break somebody's experience as well. And so it's definitely a real valid point in terms of one of the factors in making your decisions. So it's good to come up. And obviously that stuff around the scholarship piece is really important, and looking at how you actually manage the academics, because you want to come out of this process with something tangible and useful. You don't just want to be at college for years and then come away with absolutely nothing. So that's really good to know as well. Um, I was wondering how you mentioned there about developing your game, and I was wondering if you could circle back to that briefly and just say more to how you manage the academics alongside the development of your game, because you've got a bit of pressure in both of those environments.
Yeah, it's definitely a busy schedule you have. You know, you've got pretty full days with your workouts, your classes, your golf practice with the team, and also, you know, your homework and studying for tests for school and stuff. Um, so you know, there's a lot of time management required, and I think that's the real key in it all, is making sure that you have your week planned for, you know, when you can do your studying, when you can do your homework, when you can do your practice, when you can have your downtime, um, and just keeping a detailed track of that. Like for me, I would just have it in my diary in my phone whenever I had classes, practice, when things were due, when I could work on them, etc. And that really helped me stay on top of things.
Mhm.
Um, So when I first went out there at the beginning of each semester, I would just take down all the due dates for homework, as they give you those at the very beginning, and
Mhm.
um, they give you when exams are going to be, and so that makes it really easy to work out what you're going to miss when you're away at tournaments, when you can do it, and so forth. So um, it's busy, but if you're able to stay on top of that kind of stuff, then you'll be just fine.
Mhm. Good. Um, Sandy, if you could chat to your younger self a year out from um, applying to college or heading to college, I guess part of that piece is that application process. What would you be preparing for?
Um, I'd say um, that, you know, you're very independent when you're out there, or it asks you to be very independent when you're out there.
Hmm.
You have to do your own, you know, washing. You have to get your own food. You have to get yourself to classes and to the golf course. Um, you know, these are technically, you know, independent tasks, but you know, circling back to what we were talking about earlier, um, you know, use the help and use the support that's there.
Hmm.
You don't have to feel like you have to do everything yourself. You know, just, you know, ask for help if you need it, sort of thing. So you can easily start doing your own washing in your house just now. That would definitely help your mum out, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, just getting comfortable with being that little bit more independent. Um, I think that regular contact with family and friends is helpful.
Hmm.
Setting that up before you go out there, getting in the good habits, just to give you that extra homely feel. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, just being organized in your time management, and what you're going to be doing for the week ahead or the day ahead. Just having an idea before you go into things um, will really prepare you.
Thanks, Sandy. And as always, it's that life skill piece, isn't it? And the more that you do it, the better you get at it. And it's also understanding just what you said. It is a challenging time in that first year piece. And part of that piece is actual fact, it's a huge transition. And just recognizing that there's loads of plates that you're spinning at the same time, and just being patient with that and communicating about that and being organized can really help. So great to hear that. So just wondering if a high school golfer was considering the next move with education and with golf, is there any type of advice that you would offer to them?
Yeah, I've played with plenty of teammates that most of them want to pursue golf as a career, but some of them also didn't.
Hmm.
Um, so I'd say that you don't even need to have that um, sort of drive to become a professional golfer to feel the benefits of going to study in the US and do a golf scholarship. I
Hmm.
think that it teaches you a lot. You have the opportunity to study abroad while playing golf, um, developing, personal skills, becoming more independent. These things are all important for any career. Um, so I think that it prepares you for life in general, being able to be away from home, um, and do all these things. I think that you're going to be ahead of a lot of people who aren't taking that opportunity.
Hmm. Good to know. And that's a really important point around it's not just about wanting to be a pro golfer. There's so much from that experience that you gain as a young person that, like you said, sets you up for life really with those lifelong friendships, that kind of social experience, and just being on the journey together with those people. It's absolutely invaluable. So, um, great guidance there, Sandy. Is there something that surprised you when you moved to the US? Was there anything that you kind of weren't expecting?
Um, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a big move going from Scotland to the US. The culture is that little bit different. Everything just has that new feel to it. So,
Mm-hmm.
being uncomfortable in that environment at the beginning is totally normal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a little bit of a shock to the system, but
Yeah.
you know, you soon get used to it and grow to love it. I'd say that I was surprised at how many great players there were out in the US, and I think that you have to have a good attitude about how the better the players you're competing against, the better the opportunity you're giving yourself to improve. So,
Mm-hmm.
just embracing that. Um, I think you should be thankful for the opportunity to compete against players on your team who are better than you, and um, compete against players from other schools who are really good as well. Like it's all a great opportunity to grow. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think that um, it just all pushes you to be better, to keep finding that edge too. So, um, I'd say that was probably everything feels kind of new, um, but it probably didn't take a month or two to really settle in and feel comfortable there.
Brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Andy. I think we're coming to the end of our long list of questions here. Based on today, Bryce is currently at home because the schools are on strike. So he's aged 8 and he didn't want to come in, but when I said I was speaking to you today, he did have a couple of questions for you. Number one, do you own a pair of cowboy boots?
Cowboy boots. You know what? I actually don't, and I regret that massively. So next time, I'll try and get my brother to bring me back a pair. That would be good to
Number two, do you live in a mansion?
have. No, I wish I did. Not yet. Not yet. That's probably the best answer I can give.
And number three, do you drive a Lamborghini?
That will be parked in the mansion whenever that happens. Yeah, not yet. Also.
Oh, brilliant. Look, Sandy, I know you're absolutely exceptionally busy. You've got lots of commitments in your schedule, so absolutely appreciate you taking the time to chat to me this afternoon. I wish you all the luck in Kenya and as you return to the US to continue as a pro on the Latin America tour. So thanks ever so much for taking the time. You've offered some excellent insights and some great insider information. And just really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks very much.
No, of
Take
course.
care.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.